is Raising Kings, a space where single mothers raising young Black men come to heal, grow, and lead with power. We're not just raising boys, we're raising kings. Hosted by Jennifer Tolliver, a mother, mentor, and warrior in the fight for generational change. Let's get to work.
Hey, everybody. Welcome back to another episode of the Raising Kings podcast. Queens, today I am very honored to welcome a powerhouse to the Raising Kings podcast, a man who embodies what it means to rise above circumstances and turn adversity into legacy. He's an award-winning engineer, transformational speaker, as well as a proud husband and father. It is my deep pleasure to introduce the generational gap speaker, Cartis D. B.E.S.T. Welcome, Cartis. We're so glad to have you today.
Oh man, thank you so much. I'm just happy to be here. It's just an honor and a pleasure to have you as a host and kind of have this audience as the people that are growing the generation for tomorrow. So it's always a pleasure to be a part.
Yeah, I appreciate that. So let's start with a little about your incredible journey. So you grew up in a single parent household, and I read from your story you even spent time living in a garage. Can you take me back to that moment and what mindset actually got you through those times?
Yeah, so like I grew up in a single family home, like you said, and some of those times were harder than others. I think anybody that you ask, what was the most impactful time in your life, is probably coming out of a hard time. So I don't complain about hard times, but it also gives you character.
Yeah.
There was a stint in our lives that money was real tight, and that's the only place that we could afford to live.
Right.
And these uh, people of Mexican descent had a garage that they converted into an apartment and two twin beds or whatever, and then that's where we stayed.
An apartment. You act like you were on the. No, I'm just kidding. Like when you were laying in the oil spills and stuff. No, I'm just.
They like shucks. I'll tell you.
I'm just kidding.
A funny story. A funny story about that, right? Well, I'll tell you two funny stories just because you can cut it out if it's too long.
No, I'm keeping it. So no.
Like there was one time like I was coming home from school. I didn't realize that it was a garage when I was staying in it, because my mom made it so much of a home that it didn't matter where we were. It was just another day. And there was a place called El Pollo Loco, and we used to like, if I had El Pollo Loco, I didn't care where we were. I had a Superman toy.
Okay.
And the Superman toy was so special to me because it had a cloth cape. And I would always play with it. Like I would be in the shower and everything, but the shower didn't have a drain cover over it. And I was playing in the shower, like after your bath, kids want to like play in the shower or whatever, in the water or whatever.
Right.
And it slipped out of my hands. And it went down the drain. I was hurt. Like the fact that I still remember it to this day means it was real impactful. The other story that I had was I remember about it is my mom bought a pack of Oreos. And like she was in the shower at one point and getting dressed or whatever, and I was out there and the Oreos were right on the kitchen counter. And I went over there before she finished taking her bath or whatever. I ate the middle out of all the Oreos and then put them back. Like, she wanted some Oreos and she ate the Oreos. But the reason I give those stories was like, even though it was a difficult part in like our life, it's the environment that you put yourself in the mindset that you have in those situations that make you come out of it on the other side a better person. And if it wasn't for my mother having the wherewithal and the fortitude to be able to shift the environment and say like, hey, we got to do what we got to do. This is only a time. How do we keep pushing forward? So like, those are some of the key principles that guided me to be the man that I am today and kind of just figure it out and keep pushing forward. I don't have a high a need for a lot of excessive things just because of the way I grew up.
Yeah.
But like I have what I need, and I think looking back at it, it might be a plus and a detriment because I don't know how other people have their needs.
Right.
And like I don't know, like I can't understand like, oh, you don't need that much. Like
Right.
we were doing it with a whole lot less. Like, but
Yeah.
some people do need that because everybody didn't grow up the way that you grew up. So
Yeah.
you have to build that emotional intelligence and that understanding. So yeah.
Mhm. Yeah, that goes a little bit into, financial education and making yourself secure because it's like you can live off a very small amount, per week if you need to, but it's just adjusting those those wants versus needs. So I definitely understand that. And
Yeah.
yeah,
And,
so
and
mhm,
the thing about it is it's crazy because most of the big expenses people don't do super bad at.
right.
It's these little expenses that people do like bad at because they're like, oh, Netflix is only like
Yeah.
when you say that it's only,
Yeah.
then you start to lose track of the it's only, and then you spend like most of your paycheck
Right.
on if onlys.
Yeah.
So like if we could narrow down as a community the if onlys, we would
Mhm.
keep a lot of our wealth in house.
Yeah. We got to stop being if only fans out here. Get it together.
Yeah.
Definitely. That's excellent advice. So you went a little bit into that, how that experience and that upbringing shaped you, as a leader. Did it help you in your role as a father at all today?
Yeah. My daughter is actually very much like me. It's almost scary. Like I'm super nervous about her teenage years and everything. It's about just how strong willed she's gonna be and all that stuff. But that's what I want to.
Yeah.
I think I grew up with kind of old school parenting style of like you can't talk back, you can't disagree, you can't have communication at a parent to child level. I
Hmm.
don't think it should be a we're equals conversation, but it should be a conversation that like makes you understand why I'm making these communications.
Yeah.
Other than the man's gonna get you, like like that
Exactly.
type of deal. Like okay, like let's help me explain how life works. And I think that's one of the most difficult parts about growing up in a single family home
Hmm.
is you need that male perspective,
Hmm.
especially when you're raising a boy.
Right.
Um, and this kind of goes into the framework that I look back at my life and kind of looked at and said, hey, these are the key things to help me get me where I was at. These are the things my mom put in place to make
Hmm.
sure that I was successful.
Right.
And one of the first thing I use the acronym RACE.
Hmm.
So and it has two E's. So
Okay.
RACE is relationship, action, community, environment, and excel.
Whoa. Okay.
Yeah.
One more time
Yeah.
for the people in the back.
Relationship,
Hmm.
action, community, environment, and excel.
Wow.
So yeah, so that's what I looked at, and my mom set up all these things. So like relationship, relationship is the relationship that you have with your child.
Hmm.
So how do they move? How is my relationship with them? Do we have an open dialogue, or did we destroy that open dialogue by the way I reacted to something? Did I react in the right way?
Right.
So like when I'm with my daughter or whatever, I'm trying to build that relationship that she doesn't run to her friends, she runs to me, and knowing that it will be a safe place to be able to have that communication.
Yeah.
So if somebody touches her inappropriately at school, God forbid, that she'll be able to talk to me.
Hmm.
First, she'll be able to say no during that situation, but then she'll be able to immediately talk to me because a lot of the things in school is like, oh, they don't have a good relationship with their parents. So
Right. So
I can
there's
do
some
they
wiggle
they're
room.
not gonna
I can
tell.
get it. Yep.
Exactly. So
Yeah.
they know there's not a checks and balances. So when you don't have that relationship, everybody else knows it. And then
Right.
that's when they start to plant their seeds and do what they
Yeah.
want to do or
Slack
whatever.
off. Yeah.
Exactly.
All of
Like
that.
like somebody else's parents that have a good relationship with their child, they make better grades than the people that don't,
Yeah.
because the teachers do whatever they want to with that, if they don't like the student or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
But the teachers that do have a relationship with the parents, they'll call home and say like, hey, Bobby's not doing well,
Yep.
like you need to get on him,
Yeah.
because they know the relationship there.
Yeah, and they know you care, and they know you're gonna step for your child. So it's like you better have your ducks in a row when I get there, because
Right.
I'm coming. Not
Yeah,
my baby, but that's
exactly.
exactly the support our
Yeah.
kids need, especially in society and school, in the school system. It's like you have to insert yourself. So definitely excellent advice.
Right. And
Mhm.
then the next thing is action, right?
Right.
So you take that relationship and you have to use the actions that you use, and you have to be consistent in your actions. So if you
Right.
say something, like at first I was like, okay, when I was raising my daughter, while I'm raising my daughter, I was like, okay, let me say something. Then I went back to the way I was raised, though, kind of
Right.
like, one, don't do that. One,
Mhm.
two, three, and then she started moving. I said, what am I doing? I'm playing her game. She
Right.
knows
You
I'm
start
counting to
counting
three.
with you, 3,
Yeah,
4.
right. Like, so I stopped that. I stopped all that together. Like, I don't know. I might get canceled for for what I'm saying,
You won't
but
get canceled.
yeah.
Not for
So,
me.
but like basically what I said is, okay, I said something. Did you hear me? All right,
Mhm.
we moving. Like
Right.
now, she has gotten to the point that she just moves as soon as I say it now, because she knows there's no buffer time before action is about to be taking place.
Right.
So we have to be consistent in the way that we act, and this consistent in the ways that we talk, and then consistent in the way that we discipline as well.
Yeah.
Um, that that's the part that's super important. The third thing is community.
Mhm.
Uh, when we look at the people that we hang around and the communities that we have, there's going to be a point in every child's life that they're going to think their parents don't know anything. Like
Yeah.
they haven't been here for 30, 40 plus years or whatever. And they're going to say, like, no, you don't know anything about the world. But
Yeah.
that's that's human.
Yeah.
So, like, to stop people from being honed in on their own kind of what do you call it, tribe or
Mhm.
whatever. So you had to go out and you had to meet other people, so that you don't mess up your bloodline.
Right.
Let me put it like that. So you have to have other people in different communities, if that's a teacher, if that's a mentor, if that's a pastor, that have your same philosophy of parenting, to have that second voice. So you're driving from the back seat. And this is crucial in that middle school time. So like what you're doing and finding those people and vetting those people that you trust during that elementary school, and
Yeah.
like you're looking for people from afar and all those things, of like manage your friends. I remember one time that my mom said, nope, don't hang around him. I don't
Mhm.
want you hanging around him. I was like, Mom, why? I don't understand.
Right.
Like, what's going on? You fool guy or whatever. Like, we're both cool type of
Mhm.
deal. Like, I don't understand. You just hate.
Yep.
And then looking at it now, I graduated. He
Right.
barely graduated high school.
Oh, wow.
So yeah, it was like, how many times do you want to go to jail before, like, you say like that might not be or how many babies do you want to have before,
Mhm.
like, I don't know how you're setting yourself up for success, like
Right.
being around those things.
Yeah.
I was actually talking to some people 2 weeks ago,
Mhm.
and the question that was asked, like, how would you talk to a person that's youth and tell them, like, you guide your way to success? I said, okay, whatever you want to do,
Mhm.
look at the older people that are doing what you're thinking about doing
Right.
and seeing how that works out. So if you want to do drugs, okay, look at an older person that has been doing drugs, and if that's what you want to end up like,
Go
go
back,
ahead.
Charlie speak.
Right, right. You have the view. You have. I say you have to. The best advice that I could give any young person is look at an older generation
Mhm.
and look at how they turned out, and then kind of follow that path.
Yeah.
Like, what were the key aspects? But I don't want to spend too much time on the framework,
Mhm.
community, environment. So it kind of goes into that community piece. So
Okay.
environment is the people that you're around
Mhm.
and the things that you participated in. So what my mom did was put me around people that were positive, that she
Mhm.
saw going riffing off of what she had for community.
Okay.
But the environment wasn't only the people, the environment was the opportunity. So she said, okay, this high school is losing their accreditation. Let me move him to another high school. Hey, family, I really need to move him out of this to be in the best environment. Can
Mhm.
we take a collection and everybody help me send him to this school? So I
Wow.
went to
Awesome.
a better school because she recognized like he gotta get a better
Yeah,
education and all this other stuff.
that's
And
dope.
then yeah, so like she pulled everybody together. Like my godfather's name is Fairchild. You like personal. He was a retired warrant officer.
Oh
Like
wow.
he was like my sounding board. Still is my sounding board to this
Mhm.
day. So he's gonna be forever a part of my community.
Awesome.
And like community has tiers. And
Yeah.
like we can talk about this later because I said I wasn't gonna spend too much time on this framework.
Hey, you got the floor, man. Tell us
But
what we need to know.
yeah, like community has tiers. There's gonna be people that are on your S tier that
Okay.
you're not gonna leave. They're not gonna leave your life. They're gonna be with you from ups and downs, and they're always gonna coach you.
Mhm.
The A tier is going to be the people that have influence, but they don't call you all the time. You don't talk to them all the time. But when you two call them and talk to them, they answer. Your
Okay.
B tier is the people that have edification for you, but they're not going to be there, and they're only going to be there for a season. Your
Mhm.
C tier is the people that are helpful for a time, but they're looking for mostly to get something out of it. Then your
Okay.
D tier is the people that don't give you added value, and they mostly take, and they might give you 2 cents here, 2 cents there, but they not helping you progress.
Mhm.
So that's your superior level, A tier, B tier, C tier. But
So we don't need the D tier, right? Because they're like,
no, you don't need the D tier.
we don't
You
want
don't.
that. Right? That could
Right, right, right.
make us worse and set us back. Okay.
Exactly,
Okay.
exactly, exactly.
So that
So,
bar on the bar chart, that should be just a line, the D tier.
right. That's
Okay,
under the
good.
bar.
You're
Right.
right.
Yeah, yeah.
Okay, but that's good to be able to recognize them so you can categorize these people. That's really good.
Yeah, yeah. And like going back to environment, and like some people are gonna say like, hey, I can't afford
Right.
it. And there was programs that like we couldn't afford, but we found grants and like programs that just talking to other parents of like being in the right place at the right time.
Yeah.
So like I was a part of this NASA sponsor program that I
That's
could go to for free.
mhm.
Like who gets that
Yeah.
opportunity? It's just access.
Wow.
It's like okay, like you just got to ask the right questions, and
Be
then like
resourceful.
right. So like I think destiny or opportunity is like this. Opportunity is like a bus.
Hmm.
Like you go to the bus stop, you wait for it. You might have just lost the last one. The
Right.
last bus already left. But if you keep waiting at the bus stop, guess what? Another bus comes.
That's right.
So you just got to keep waiting on the bus. You got to be prepared to the opportunity and be ready when the bus comes.
Yeah.
The last E is excel.
Mhm.
Doing all these things and putting them into practice and writing those things down, like writing down how your relationship is with your child, because it's going to evolve over time,
Right.
especially when you have multiple children. That your relationship evolves. You're not the same parent with the first one that you were with the second.
Definitely not.
Right, right. So you got to write things down and kind of remember those times, remember the good times, so
Mhm.
you can make it through the bad.
Yeah.
Uh, all those types of things, and like being consistent with your action is
Mhm.
going to push you to the place that you're excelling,
Yeah.
as a family and as individuals.
Well, speaking of, well, since you mentioned that a lot of the moms listening, single moms raising sons. So, what would you say? You know, a lot of times we worry that adversity that we experience, you know, with the one income in the home will limit our child's future.
Mhm.
What would you say to the moms who worry about that?
I would say there's nothing that you can't teach your son on whatever income that you're on.
Right.
You learn all your life values that you need for life, uh, in kindergarten.
Hmm.
You learn how to share, you learn how to participate, you learn how to speak, learn how to be emotionally intelligent from somebody crying. You learn
Yeah.
pain. You learn all these things by 5 years old. How much did that cost?
Right. That's true.
So so when we look at it that way, there's the experiences and the love that you have and the time that you spend is more important than anything else. And the people that you put them around, are the most important things. The best things in life are free.
Yeah,
Like,
like you were saying, how your mom made that garage apartment feel like the best thing. Like that's one of our superpowers as moms. Because I've been in a situation with the kids where we were in a homeless situation. We had to stay at the hotel, but it's like, of course, now we're in a way better situation. But when we talk about that, they're like, "Mom, that was the best time we ever had in our lives." I'm like, "Are you kidding me?" Like, look
yeah,
around all the stuff, these toys you have, all the space, and you're telling me that was the best time. But yeah, definitely, it's a
yeah.
superpower we have as moms. Like, it's not about what you have; it's just the experience you create. So I definitely agree with that.
Yeah, I mean, shucks, like you can give a child a empty box and they'll flow
Yeah,
with, like.
yeah,
And I think it's important to not have, like, I'm not gonna say it's important to not have, but I
hmm,
think there's something to not having access that is important for the creativity part of whatever you're doing. Like,
definitely.
they're like the most creative people playing basketball were the people with like not a lot of stuff
Yeah,
and they
you
didn't have
figured out
access.
the great and whatever.
Yeah, they were like, how can I make this work? And they're like
Yep,
they dribbling around imaginary basketball and they have the craziest moves.
yep,
Or somebody playing the most creative inventor or something like that who came out of nothing because they had nothing. So sometimes too much is a hindrance to some of the capabilities that we have of imagining certain things.
yeah,
So like I would never say that you don't have enough unless you don't have enough love, you don't have enough peace, you don't have enough uh, things that are the foundation of being human. Um, I think you have enough on, like, to make it work.
yeah,
So
definitely.
yeah.
So we got the framework king in here, guys. But, so you're the first engineer in your family, and now
Yes.
the founder of the B.E.S.T leadership framework. Let's see. We want you to break that down a little bit for us. Let us know what it stands for and how you kind of came up with it.
So I teach the best leadership framework, not just because it's named best, but I actually think these are the principles that are very key
Mm-hmm.
to being successful as a leader, no matter what level that you think you're at. So the what I was thinking was like, how can somebody be most effective now today? So the best leadership framework is the B is for build trust
Okay.
and relationships. So you notice those things are similar, right? Like
Yeah.
from the race and the B.E.S.T framework. So build relationships, you empower and equip, you strategic execution, and then you transform and inspire. So you have to build trust with the people that you're leading. So you're going to see aspects of race and the B.E.S.T framework together, right?
Right.
So you got to build trust in relationships. You have to have some way that people can say like, hey, this person is genuine, and I want to have I want him to be a part of my team, or I want her to be a part of my team. You have to empower. You have to give an opportunity for the people that you're leading to show up as the people that can help your team. So if that's your son or daughter, you have to empower them to have some independence of like, oh, okay, I trust you. Like for my daughter's really small, so she's 2 years old right now. She's going 18, so uh,
Already.
right, already.
Wow.
So yeah, so she's even like opening up doors. Like we have a dog or whatever, so she's opening up doors, closing doors for the dog to go out and all this stuff. So I'm like, girl, you already helping out. She like picks up the broom and sweeps the floor. And I
What?
had
Set up
to
a play date. My kid's laughing. Excellent.
yeah, we can definitely do that. We can definitely do that. Like, but I mean, it's important. Like,
Yeah.
sometimes she'll be like, help," and I'm like, no, you can do it. And I'll just sit there and watch her, and then she'll cry, or she won't like cry as in pain, or she'll be crying in frustration. But sometimes we have to put those situations on our kids to be able to help them grow the way that they need to, because the world, I feel like as my job as a parent is to prepare my children for the world. And if they're not well prepared for the world by putting them through heartaches and conditions that I can control, the world is not going to control the conditions that they put them in.
Yeah.
So, and for their positive benefit, I'll put it like that. So if I could train them here, I want to train them the best way I know how by putting them in those hard positions that she's frustrated and not being able to put on all her clothes by herself because she's two, but she's dealing with, we're teaching emotional control and not being able to spout out and pushing through hardship and all those different things that, like I told you earlier, like we learn all those key principles before the age of 5 in kindergarten. So if we're not teaching them well early, we're just going to have to be playing makeup down the road. So
and that's even on a cellular level, that's even true, because if you don't present your children with those challenges and life lessons for themselves, like even your brain neurons and the synapses, they're not going to be snapping as much as they need to and connecting and making those problem solving connections that they could be, you know. But if you're given everything on a silver platter, you're not making those connections and your brain isn't formatting those survival skills, so to speak. I'm not sure of the technical terms, but I do know that going through those, processes helps your brains and the neurons and their connects and fire away. So that's definitely important, even on a cellular level. So, and during those formative years. Yeah.
Right. Like your brain is like forming and developing, and like you have really till 22, but like most of like parents' jobs are mostly over by the age of 13.
Yeah.
Like that's when they're gonna start like going against everything that you say. That's when they're gonna start kind of like, it's I consider it like this. I consider like school during parenting is from 0 till about 7th or 8th grade. Then like when they get like 13, 14, which is like freshman year of high school and all that, that's kind of like your PSAT. So like that's when they're not independent, they're still living in your house. It gives you chance to take a test and like give more independence, but you're not really taking the real thing yet.
Right.
You think you are, but you're not.
Yeah.
And then when they get off to like 18 plus and like the world is considering them as like somebody that can make their own decisions, that's your SAT. And like when you're younger, you kind of get like more leeway. Everybody's gonna say, "Oh, you're a little young," and all this other stuff. But then once you get past that kind of like 23-year-old age, you kind of get to, oh, this is the real world. I'm not on my parents' health insurance no more. I'm not.
Make your own appointments.
Yeah. That's when your stuff stink at that point. So,
yeah, that's very important. I always tell moms, well, I feel so grateful if a mom comes to me and her son is in those formative years, because it's like, yes, we can start the communication at the right point. But a lot of moms, when they wait till their son is in their teenage years and they're already dealing with such difficult, behavioral issues and problems at school, you can't come in then. Well, you can, but it's harder to come in then. They're like, who are you? Like, I don't know. You want to communicate with me now, all of a sudden, but had you started when they were in those formative years, that open line of communication will be there. And like you mentioned earlier, they'll be able to come to you for anything because it's a safe space. It's like if something happens at school, I know I've created that line of communication with my son, so he's going to call me before even the school calls me, even if he did something wrong, so I can be ready. So that's very important.
Yeah. And that kind of goes into this next point of, so we went over the B, to build trust. We went over the E, empower and equipped. And kind of exactly what you just said is the S. You got to have strategic execution.
Yes.
So that strategic execution of how we're raising our children in the right way of kind of like, okay, we're going to go after this. Oh, you said you want to be good at basketball? All right, this is what we're going to do. Like we're gonna talk. I'm gonna talk to Coach D over here, and then like let's see what practice you need to be on. Like, what does it take to be on the team? What do you think? What does he think you need to work on in the off season? All these other things. Or I'm gonna talk to Miss Duncan at school and say like, oh, okay, he's deficient in this in math. Like, is there any tools outside? Because this is not my wheelhouse. I really don't know math that well. So is there anything on YouTube that I can say like, oh, okay, before you watch TV, you got to watch an hour of this YouTube video on whatever topic you learned in class. Like that type of stuff. You got to be strategic on like, how are we going to implement certain things to be successful? And then the next thing is you got to transform and inspire. That's the T. So like after you do all those things, after you transform, after you trust, after you implement, after you empower, after you strategize, you got to transform. And that's like, you have to be able to adapt and you have to be able to inspire whoever's on your team. Like if it's, and we're talking about a family team right now, but whoever's on your team to be more successful. And like, I would have never went to college if I knew it was an option. I have a cousin that is that was so much smarter than me. Like on paper, this man was so smart that he was able to learn how to read from Sesame Street.
Really?
Yeah, it was crazy. Like I never like like I was like, dang, I had to
learn how to look both ways before I crossed the street. Well, that's about it.
Like I had to get bribed by my mom to go to the fire station just to learn my ABCs.
No, wow.
So it's just one of those things. But he thought he knew it was an option. And sometimes kids can't know things are an option. Sometimes kids need to just say like, hey, this is what you need to do to be successful. And she did the best things that she knew. And she put me in the right environments to say like, hey, this is the road that you need to be around. And since she moved me from that school that lost their accreditation to a school that was one of the best in the area, everybody was going to college. Everybody was talking about, like, oh yeah, I'm going to this school, I'm going to this school. And I'm like, shucks, am I getting into school? Like, I just want to go in the Marines,
Yeah.
like that type of deal. So like, and she was like, nope, you're not going to the armed forces. If you want to go to, you're not going into the Marines. You're going to go to college. If you want to go into Marines after you, like while you're in school, and after you get out of school, you can do that, because like my family is a long list of serving the country. But she was like, hey, first things first, this is why you want to do that, because you'll come in being an officer and you'll get this and you'll get that, and like it'll just set you a little bit differently up for success. Not saying that you're not going to be successful not doing those things, but it'll make it a little different path. So, and this is the path that I see for you. And I think that goes into that being a real parent, of seeing things that your kid doesn't see around the corner. And because you experience so many things, that you're able to help them in areas that they would never know.
Yeah.
And like looking back at it, it's kind of like, man, I could have did better with that situation. And it's going to be on both sides of the coin. But what I learned early on is like, write down, like when I was a kid, it was like, write down the things that you don't like about your parent, and then save it in a notebook, and then come back to it later on. And then I look at it now, I was like, I still don't like it. But it's all good. It's all good. But I learned how to be a better parent. Because I think one of the things that us as parents don't do enough of is listen.
Yeah.
Like we're doing so much preaching and like restricting and telling, it's like, no, you can't do this, you can't do that. But we don't do enough job of listening to our kids, and like saying like, oh, this hurts, or oh, I don't like this. Maybe they're actually telling us the truth.
That's true. Exactly. And we'll never know if we don't listen.
You never know.
Yeah, ladies. Cartis just sat here and told us how to run the best race of our life. So we get to see what I did there.
Yeah, I like it. All
right. So you're here because I think, after studying your journey and your path and what you do, I think you're an amazing male mentor figure. That's why you're here. And I know that you also work with other young leaders and professionals. So what are some of the green flags for moms who are looking for male mentors for their son? What would you suggest we look out for that are good things for male mentor?
Yeah, so one of the things that I would look for is consistency.
Okay.
If they are consistent, like I would look at them from afar and say like, oh, okay, this person shows up the same way every single time, and you kind of have to see them in different environments, right?
Okay. Right.
Because like I use my godfather as an example. He's been the same person, and like as far as edifying, as far as the person that I learned my personality from, of being more outward and like being more of an extrovert than an introvert. Because I'm an introvert.
Yeah.
I am an introvert that has capacity for extrovert qualities.
Same.
Yeah. I don't like to be out much. I don't
know how I'm on camera right now.
Right. So like being consistent is the number one, because like what I saw in the people that weren't there is people that weren't being able to be consistent. So they will always leave, or you would always see like, oh yeah, we're supposed to be here. Oh man, something came up. Like I can't make it today. Like certain things do come up, but you're consistent at certain things always coming up. So
and there's an energy behind it. As women, you can pick up on somebody who's BSing you. So.
Exactly. And I think the other thing is understand the true intentions if somebody comes to you,
Mm-hmm.
uh, as far as wanting to be a mentor.
Yeah.
Is it they want to be a mentor for your children, or is it they want to be have another path to you?
Yeah, I already know.
Yeah, yeah. I'm
Yeah.
gonna get canceled like Steve Harvey.
No, no, we say this all the time, and I tell moms too. I'm not, stop flirting and dating with your kid's male mentor. Like, don't. That's not a romantic interest for you, because then if that doesn't work out, then that's even another, male figure that's gone from your child's life, and it increases his abandonment issues. So I always say, like, no, that's should be strictly a mentor for your son. So you're not gonna get canceled here. Let us know.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, like that's the thing is you got to set boundaries,
Hmm.
and that goes into that strategy piece. So
Hmm.
you have to be strategic about the way that you're finding these people, and you have to be strategic in the way that you're like these are the rules of engagement. All right, either you're gonna be my child's mentor, or you're gonna be a love interest.
Right.
And if you're gonna be a love interest, all right, let's separate that. Like if we go
Yeah.
to this next level or whatever, like then you can start to be an influence and all these
Mhm.
other things. But like let's split those apart. Um, just because it just brings up layers. It brings up more layers that like you and he or you and she hasn't even figured out yet.
Mhm.
And then you added those layers to somebody else that doesn't even know how to emotionally regulate certain aspects of relationships.
Right.
Like, okay, why is so and so not here anymore, or why is like I really liked, and
Yeah.
then it adds some resentment and like, oh, okay, you did this and you were the
Yeah.
reason why. Like, solving a lot of problems without not even without even crossing that boundary.
Hmm.
So like that's one thing that I saw from my mother as well.
Yeah.
She set those hard lines. And I
Yeah.
mean, it was almost frustrating how hard she sets lines because like she says it, she means it, and
Right.
she was not different. So
Hmm.
like as far as finding a mentor, I would see that consistency piece,
Hmm.
understand the intentions if somebody comes up to you, and see the piece that like somebody that you would trust enough and other people would trust enough to say like, oh, okay, I would I would let this person go with this person.
Right.
If it's a young male, it needs to be a positive male
Hmm.
that like other males don't have concern with, other females don't have concern with, because it has to and like I say I say like men and women because they both have different perspectives of how a person's character is.
Right.
And if it's good from the male perspective, if it's good for the woman's perspective, we're able to have a holistic view of how people view that person. And if that person is always going up in life, that's the person that you want your kid to be around. Um, yeah, the end goal is the key.
Yeah. Okay, dope. All right. So we'll start wrapping it up. We got three more questions. We got a rapid fire wisdom round
Rapid,
going
rapid.
on. Let's go. Okay. So what's one lesson fatherhood taught you about leadership?
Um, listen,
Okay.
listen, listening, like because everybody has so much to teach you.
Yeah.
And when you don't have an ear to listen to it, you miss out on so much that could have been life changing, and you might have to learn the same lesson over again. So the more you listen, the more you're willing to understand those things that you might not be seeing. They might be in your blind spot.
Yeah. It's literally half of communication is listening.
Yeah, like listening the right way. Like everybody can
Right.
hear, but
Right.
is everybody listening? Well,
Mm,
not everybody can hear, but most people can hear. But like being able to listen and understand
right.
like what a person is saying, because there's a lot of times that we have communications with people and they might be saying certain things and it might not come across in the way that they want you to understand it, but listening and having an ear enough to be able to ask the questions of, is this what you mean by this? This is how I heard it.
Right.
And there's so many times that people don't ask follow-up questions is they misunderstand the purpose of the words, and they just hear and respond to it the way that they understood it, even though that was not the intention. So I think that's very important, and I wish more of the world kind of looked at it that way.
Yeah.
We'll stop a lot of wars that way.
I know, yeah, because a lot of people listen through their experiences and their traumas, and so what they hear gets distorted based on who they are and what they've been through. So that's a good point, because I've had to do that in my life, going through trauma. I noticed that I take things very personally. It's like, it's not even about you. So now I have to actually go and say, hey, you know what you said? Did you mean it this way, or am I interpreting it wrong? And that's a big action step, and it feels extra, but it's so important. So, okay, great. All right, next question. What's your favorite quote that you live by?
Ooh, there's so many. Oh,
We'll take a few, whatever your top 3.
I don't even know if I can. I can't narrow it down.
Okay.
Well, I guess one of the my favorite quotes is actually one, not to sound conceited or anything, but like
We want you to.
but like this is one of the quotes that I said one time. Each one of us are keys, and sometimes you just haven't found the right door. So like each of us are keys to unlock so much opportunity, so many rooms. Some people are master keys. Some people are going to open more doors than others.
Yeah.
But we're all keys, and we just have to find the door that we open. So
stop at that first door. They're trying to.
Yeah. If I told you $1 billion was around behind one of these doors, would you stop at the first one?
No, I'd be trying to take other people's keys. Look at the ground.
Exactly. So everybody's success, and it might not be monetary, right?
Yeah.
It might not be monetary, but it might be a person's life that we affect. Mm-hmm. Like maybe you open that door for somebody else to walk through.
Yeah, that's true.
So
that's deep.
Yeah.
The best way to run the race and get through the door. Boy, today, boy. All right, last question, Cartis. Okay. Did you say you have a son or you have a daughter, or both?
I got a daughter.
Your daughter? Okay. So if your daughter could remember only one thing about you, what would you want that thing to be?
Ooh. I want her to know I left it all on the field. I want her to say, like, he was one of the people that left it all on the field. There was nothing that he left in the tank. He was refreshed at the end of the race. Like,
right.
he fell over the finish line because he was trying to make my life better. Because my goal as a person, not just a father, not just as a son, not just as a nephew or whatever role I play as a leader, is to be able to live up to my full potential, which means like everybody has potential in life, and the choices that you make increase or decrease that potential. Because one of the things that you don't want to do is borrow against your future self. How are the decisions that I'm making today going to make it easier on my tomorrow self? But most people think like, oh, that can wait till tomorrow. And you don't know when the last tomorrow is going to be. So like, what can you do today to help tomorrow be easier rather than waiting for tomorrow to make your tomorrow self pay for today?
Wow,
So like I really want her to see that I set up the family not just for her generation, but her grandkids, because I want my grandkids to know my name by the way that I set them up financially. So that's by life insurance policies, by setting up a structure that like it doesn't have to go into the government as much as far as like making stuff a little bit easier to transfer from generation to generation, as far as like building up accounts or whatever and keeping my credit good so that I can put her name as a user on a credit card, that her credit is boosted, and like those different things and techniques that we can use to make the generation better. And that's what we have to learn, especially in the Black community, of like how to do that. So.
Yeah, thinking beyond the next day, the next week, the next year. Start thinking generational legacy, like building things.
Yeah. That's why everybody was like Target, and all this other stuff. And like, oh, we can buy from this place. Like there was I was in part of a group chat, and they were like, well, we can buy from here and we can buy from there. I was like, hold on, why don't y'all just sit y'all Black behinds down and don't spend nothing? Like, did you need it? They were talking about, like, granted, there's certain things that we need for day to day. They were talking about buying T-shirts and stuff like that. I'm like, hold up, why don't we just sit down for a second, just a couple months, and just save this money and see where it can go? Or like, let's invest in these things that we think about buying there. Right. So I digress.
By the time we get some, it's like the point and the intention is there, but sometimes our culture, we gotta round it out. But I think we're getting there.
Right.
If we keep listening to Cartis and everybody else is trying to tell us, the right way to do, I think we can get there as a culture.
Yeah, we'll see. We'll see.
Don't sound too confident, Cartis.
Right, we got to switch those ears. We got
We got a lot of trauma. But
all
right. So this is my own personal last question, but you always talk about how leaders are forged in adversity, and when you talked about how that helps your brain work and it helps you go farther in life. But if you could speak directly to a mother who's struggling right now, what would you say to kind of remind her of her power?
I would say everything that you need to be successful was in you from the day that you were born.
Oh, mic drop. I'm taking that for myself.
Like everything that God forged in you to be the great person that you are, every child that you were ever going to have, every instance of every tool that you needed was in you from the day that you were in your mother's womb. So like I don't want to hound it too much, but you're great.
Yeah.
And don't let anybody else tell you otherwise. The other thing is all that's in you, but it's dormant. So what are you doing in yourself to improve the things that are already in you? And some of those things you haven't seen in so long that you need to dust it off and start working on it again.
Well, we've never seen it. We don't even know it's there. We're not good gardeners of our internal soil. Like we're not watering it. We're not around the sun and right environments. We never know what our potential could be. So saying that is so dope. Like it's there. You just have to do the work.
Yeah. And I mean, that's all I can say is like, it's already in you. You're already great.
Yeah.
Just live up to the potential that you know you can. If you can believe it, write affirmations, do whatever you need to.
Yeah.
You can make it.
That's awesome. Thank you for that. And Cartis, you've given us so much today. All the frameworks we're going to need for right now. Anyway, we'll be waiting on the next one's coming. And I know you got some more.
Yes.
Let us know, let our audience know how we can stay connected with you and your leadership programs and all of your speaking engagements.
Yeah. So thank you for bringing that up. So you can go to cartisbest.com to find me on all social medias at Cartis Best. You can also go to Impulse Leadership. .com or Impulse Leadership on Instagram and Facebook, and that's the best way to get in contact with me as well. There's also a QR code that you can say like, hey, I want to reach out, or hey, this talk was horrible. I can't believe you spoke about X, Y, Z. So I'll there should be a QR code available as well.
Awesome.
That will be available. So please get in contact with me. Do mentor sessions. Do mentor sessions for kids. So like it doesn't always have to be a one-on-one session, but it could be a group. So like if you and your kids' friends, like, man, all of them need to hear something. You gotta say, like,
right.
I do those as well, and I just try to help the youth.
That's so awesome and needed. I'm glad you said that. I'll be hitting you up. We definitely always need more strong, positive male mentors available. So.
Yeah, definitely. If you have any questions, please just pop over to Instagram or Facebook or on the website.
Okay. All right, y'all. So this was not just an episode. This was the blueprint for resilience in our lives. And if you're raising a son and wondering what greatness looks like in real time, Cartis is it. Cartis Best. Be sure to follow him. And don't forget to share this episode with another mom that needs to hear it. And we want to thank you for being here with us, Cartis. We're so impressed with your journey and your life. Now you're an engineer. What kind of engineer are you?
I'm all of them. So I went to school
watch out now.
With electrical, I can do mechanical. I can do all of them. But I think I'm going to be giving back to the community a little bit more now. So
yeah, you got to Robin Hood us all that engineering and information back to the hood, man.
Right.
That's dope. I like that. Very nice. Yeah. All right. Well, thank you so much for being here. I really appreciate it. This has been great. I feel like we need more time, but maybe you can come back on again another time and give us some more wisdom.
Yeah, I would love to. Like, the pleasure's been all mine. This has been great.
Yep. All right. Well, thank you so much, and we'll be connecting with you soon.
All right. Sounds good.
All right.